The Unbroken Place podcast with Eddie Paul Thomas is a production of Say Something Studios.
Is energy. It really does start with yourself and the stories we're telling ourselves. What happened to me it's not okay in any capacity. Financial abuse, psychological manipulation and abuse. What happened to me was basically a conspiracy. It was multiple people conspiring together to completely destroy and dismantle every area of my life, personally and professionally. They were profiting off of me. I was used as a puppet tax write-off. I was used for profit. That's what I was used for. And I discovered that everything that I knew to be true in my life, personally and professionally, was all a lie. It was all a ruse.
Welcome back to The Unbroken Place, where it begins and ends with empathy. I'm your host, Eddie Paul Thomas, and this week I've got a real question for you guys. What would you do if you spent several years of your life building up this career that got you everything that you had wanted? Notoriety, you're changing lives, you're meeting powerful and influential people. And then all of a sudden, as you are just ready to set your sail and continue to change lives and build a legacy for yourself, everything is ripped away from you. That's what happened to my friend Brittany Mason. Brittany is here to share her story, one of incredible heights and betrayal of trusting the wrong people and trusting a system that did not have her back. The incredible thing is that Brittany didn't just roll over and give up. She actually rebuilt. And the story is incredible. It's one that inspires me, and what she's doing now, the way she is working to build up lives, not just for herself, but for other people, for women specifically, in finance, and to help people overcome fear and stigma, and to really bridge the financial literacy gap for women. It's inspiring. So I hope you guys enjoy this story. Brittany's sharing this story with us just before her documentary is due to come out. So you're really getting something fresh here. But man, I'm going to shut up. Let's get to it. Thank you so much for joining us on The Unbroken Place, Brittany. I've been a friend of yours for quite a while, but I've also been a major fan of yours and what you're trying to do in the world. So thank you for giving us your time and jumping on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Eddie. I'm so excited to be here. And I just love that you have created this platform now. And thank you for allowing me the space to speak and share my story. So you're always doing such great things.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. There are two things that we're really diving into this season on The Unbroken Place. One is mental health in general. It doesn't matter, where you are within a given arena. I want to give those working in that space the time to talk through, the needs of people, because right now we are under a lot of stress as people in general. You can go through and talk about the different minority groups who are experiencing it on an extreme level, but just in general as a people, mental health is critical right now. The other thing that we're trying to do this season specifically is trying to platform women, not just because they have powerful stories, but there are some things that we need to understand in society about how things are working for women. And you happen to be in an arena that initially I wouldn't have thought, oh yeah, this is the tagline for this is it begins and ends with empathy. But finance, it wasn't something that originally came to mind, but then I kind of look back on history and everything that I learned in college for my history degree, and what women have had to go through and overcome and still are working to try and overcome. And I said, yeah, this needs light. This needs some time, and it, you being in finance, it's just a perfect fit for today.
Thank you. It has been a wild journey, definitely a roller coaster of a journey to get to where I am today. My
Hmm.
financial journey in the industry only started in 2021, with my entire life being flipped upside down. But finance is for everyone. Uh, you know, I I had a deep fear with my relationship to money, with scarcity. And we all have a relationship to money. And so, one of the first things I ask anyone that I'm coaching or working with, or anyone that I have on my own podcast, I host a podcast, The Alternative Mason. And we talk about people's financial journey. And we specifically focus then on alternatives in life and alternative investments as well. But my first question is always, what is your earliest money memory? Because that's going to tell you so much about yourself and the type of relationship that you've formed with money. And so many of your decisions unconsciously that you make each day stem from that early development that you've had. So, um, healing that inner child wound
Oh, yeah.
is crucial. And so you really got to look at your habits and how those have manifested from that early childhood memory. And like so many people don't realize it. But I I feel like I did a tremendous amount of healing in my life when it comes to that. And I completely transformed my relationship to money and my outlook on how I manage my money, how I handle uh, everything to build towards financial freedom.
Yeah. I think, I'd love to dive into that a little more, Brittany, just so that people have an understanding
Mhm.
of your background with regard to this. So, you've experienced both financial success and financial instability
Yes.
in a very visible
Yes.
industry. Can you take us back to the moment you realized that earning money and having control over money are two very different things?
Well, it's a good question. I have been on both sides of the coin. I did not come from money at all. My Some of my earliest childhood memories are actually learning how to count by counting out pennies and then rolling them up, and then that's how we bought our groceries, each week. So, um scarcity was very much ingrained in my mind, and so I didn't come from that. I didn't have guidance. I didn't have financial literacy. It was a very different time. We do not have social media. We didn't have social media back then where we had all these resources and access to education in the way that we do now. So, I did not come from that kind of guidance or background whatsoever. And I was on my own at 16, basically, providing for myself since I was 16. Went to New York by myself, signed a model contract, moved into a model apartment with 7 other girls. It was a very different time in the fashion industry back then too, early
Hmm.
2000s, um, heroin chic days. I I hit the ground running, had a lot of grit, and I knew I didn't have anyone to rely on but myself. And I did transform my life and I was making great money then in my 20s. And so, um, I wasn't ever just going and buying fashionable like designer clothes and stuff like that. I was trying to be smart with my money and try to invest more in, education. I went to Fordham Law School for a summer,
Mm-hmm.
paid that up front in cash. So I was trying to be smart with my money and use it in ways to invest in myself. However, when it came to investing with, stocks or any other type of investing, even like preparing for retirement or a 401k or a Roth or
Oh,
RIA, anything
yeah.
like this, I did not understand any of that. No one was teaching me that. And had I just done just a couple of things different in my 20s when I was making, you know $10,000 for a shoot, or 20 grand for a campaign. If I would have just done a couple things differently with my money back then, I would be in an entirely different, tax bracket and situation now, even going through what I did go through 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
5 years ago was catastrophic. Um, Catastrophic, and dismantling my life, my business, everything that I did build for myself.
Yeah.
And getting money, making money, building wealth is one thing, but keeping it and learning how to protect your assets is entirely, it's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that is what I have spent the last 5 years doing, is
Mm,
learning how
that's
to
amazing.
build wealth and how to protect it.
See, I hear what you're saying, Brittany, and it's so not that different than what many of us experience
Mm-hmm.
at a young age. I know the overwhelming majority of people that I have worked with, or neighbors that I live nearby, in our 20s, 30s, we had no concept
Right.
of, what is this 401k? How do I
Mm-hmm.
invest outside of the retirement fund that already comes with my job? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
those things were
And
not
you're automatically being signed up to save in your Roth or your 401k, but is it being invested, or is the money just sitting there? I mean, something so
right.
simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just simple strategies around those things would have been so helpful in our youth, and probably would have, if it were a part of our education in general,
Hmm.
would have helped so many of the people I know and care for. So
But
yeah,
there
I'm
are
I'm really glad that you are doing what you're doing. But let me, because I really want to dive into your story, but we're going to save that for just a little bit
yeah.
later. But I know that you work with, and will continue to work with, those in industries like entertainment and pageantry.
Yes.
Um, and I know there's often, that kind of pressure to maintain some sort of image
Hmm.
while doing so. How did that pressure kind of influence your financial decisions, even if you knew it was something that might not be, sustainable?
Yeah, well, at one time, at the height of my career in my 20s, I was paying rent in both New York and LA. That's
Mm.
very expensive. Very
Yeah.
expensive. The two most expensive cities at the time in the United States. And I was paying rent in both because I was going back and forth so much. However, just a fraction of that, or maybe I don't know. I maybe could have done something a little bit different, or that did drain quite a lot, but I also did need to go back and forth quite a lot. Certain things I did try to be smart with my money. Like I said, anytime I spent like a lot or something, it was usually on like a certification I wanted to learn something. I did buy a Burberry coat for myself once, and
Well, who doesn't, Brittany? I mean,
I
seriously.
did do that, and that made me feel good though. And I wore that coat every single day to all of my castings. Barbara Cochran talks about actually how when she started her business, the Cochran Group in New York, and that was actually one of her first big purchases was a winter coat. I mean, in New York, you need a good winter coat, and it's the first thing people see. So, and those winters are brutal. And she said that she bought this winter coat and she wore it everywhere for years, and it made her feel good. And that's how that Burberry, and I still have it. I can't believe somehow, because I lost everything 5 years ago, but there's a few things that somehow I came back to me, or I managed to keep. And I still have that Burberry coat. I still wear that Burberry coat. I've had that thing for like 15 years. And but I tried to be smart with my money. But the thing is that um just a few things differently. I didn't have the education, the financial education, and I was not putting 10% in savings, I was not putting 10% aside. I would save, and then I would like buy something that I thought was like an investment for myself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I did do some beauty procedures, I'm not going to lie, and that's, keeping up in the industry, and that's quite a lot, lasers and stuff, but usually I would have partnerships with brands, but sometimes you still, yeah, it cost women what we spend on makeup and, all everything alone. I mean, it costs, but
Yeah.
really what it came down to is just a few things I should have done differently when I was earning, that much money, at a time. Because back
Yeah.
then, I mean, the rates and modeling, and I was with the top agency, I was with Wilhelmina, I was with Direct Models, I was with Fashion Cult, and I was modeling internationally, but yeah, it's a wild ride.
Yeah. I can only imagine because, I wasn't really a fashion model back
It
in the
was a
day
different time.
myself.
It's a
No,
different time,
very different time.
So
Yeah.
I
It's,
will say I definitely didn't spend it on food because back then it was like heroin chic, you know. But yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a few things differently is what I should have done, and you should always be saving at least 10%, putting 10% of whatever your income is on the side, and because really it's the long game, compounding. That's what you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. I, you know, for people today, the concept of saving money, um, is fairly difficult,
Mhm.
for the overwhelming majority of Americans. I know that,
Yes.
uh, when I talk to clients who are looking for that next promotion or they're trying to, get into another industry, it's two things come to mind. It's culture within the organization, number one. That's
Mhm.
literally the number one reason why every person is considering leaving. But number two, the paycheck isn't stretching
Mhm.
as far
Everything
as
is
it
up
used
now.
to. So it's
Groceries are like
yeah,
2 to 3 times more expensive than what they were, 3 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's important to have people with your skill set and vision, to kind of help set the table for people. Like, how do I take this next step?
Mhm.
What is 5% if I can't do 10%? Like, what kind of things
Anything.
are
Yes.
smart? And so just having those conversations with you and people like you is so incredibly important. Um, I do want to dive back
Mhm.
into a little bit of history because I know that some of the offline conversations we had were just astounding, and I think for our listeners to consider something like this would be very eye opening. So one of them is I know that historically women in the U.S. couldn't even open a credit card on their own, like in their own name, until the passage of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, and that was
Mhm.
in 1974.
Yes.
When you reflect on things like that, how do you see those remnants of financial exclusion still showing up today, even if they're a little less obvious?
Oh my goodness. When it comes to women and girls specifically, it has been for centuries. And I mean, we can go into such a deep dive of how I think this actually stemmed, and I'm still searching for the truth and answers of that. But I feel really from the beginning of time, the female and feminine narrative and feminine divine has been erased in so many ways. And for some reason, there has just been this through history, through centuries, this extraction and want and need to control women and their autonomy over their bodies themselves. And their needs, and how we are the lesser gender, or really, we do live in a patriarchal system, and that is when a community is centered around men. And then on the outskirts of that, you have children, which are used as the legacy, and on the outside of that, you have women.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, we're seeing such a huge movement in society. Like we talk, I don't know if your listeners have heard of like the 4B movement that originated in Korea. There's a lot of things like this happening around the world where women are refraining from, marriage, children,
Hmm.
sex with men. That's what the 4B movement is, that originated in Korea. And but there's a lot of this, marriage is down, having children is, those numbers are down. And I think that it's just because this is from the beginning of time, and women are now have just really had enough. And I think a lot of us are yearning for a matriarchal society, a flip on how our society operates and is structured. And what is a matriarchal society? Well, it is not like a patriarchal society. It's not the opposite of a patriarchal society. It's not. A matriarchal society is a community that is centered around the children. What is best for the children? Then on the outside of that, you have women. The women are then prioritized for, operating and, certain things, and, caring for the children and caring for community. On the outside of that, then you have the men who are the protectors, And so that's what a matriarchal system is. It's just, I think the feminine divine, the feminine narrative has been erased for centuries. And I think it's actually because we are so powerful, and I think we have forgotten our power. And you can see it in every area of society. For example, why do clothes, I don't have any pockets in this dress. That's crazy. Why do women's clothing not have pockets? You know why? Because in the 1800s, they did not want women to be able to carry information, carry documents, carry anything for themselves like that. And then they were demonized as witches if they had something like that. I mean, that was used to crucify women. And we are still, in today's day and age, still trying to control women's bodies and, women's narrative. Why are women and children not protected when it comes to domestic violence? You know what just came out yesterday? Did you see the news article that came out yesterday? All the
No, which one
headlines
is it?
about this 62 million sign up rape academy. 62
Yes.
million,
Yes.
62 million more users than Cash App. More users than Cash App. Rape
Yeah.
Academy, where men are logging on and they are teaching other men how to rape their wives, their mothers, their children, their friends. I mean, like, what are we doing? We need to have these difficult conversations. And yeah, I think that the cure for this is women having their own power, learning your own power, and stepping into that. And then the good men, we need you. We know there are good men out there. We need you. Step up and speak up, because we need you more than ever. And I actually think, and this is just how I say in pageants, I think in pageantry, the changes that are needed are going to come from the very women and girls themselves
Yeah.
stepping up and demanding better. I believe that when it comes to men, as with what we're dealing with when it comes to men and this whole male loneliness epidemic, and you're seeing all this, the Manosphere documentary that just came out, and you're seeing a lot of this anger and this hatred towards women and even themselves. It's not good for men either.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
alienating themselves. And you gotta do the work. You gotta do the inner work, you know? And
It's
so I think we need more positive male role models, you know, coming out and having platforms like yourself, Eddie. You know,
mm,
I've known you a
thank
long
you.
time, and like this is what
Yeah.
we need more of, is more of this open dialogue, where we can, you know, learn from each other and cure this, because I think that yeah, this anger and hate and division, it's and greed, you know, that's so prevalent in our world, is it's a disease. And
I'll,
so
I'll
yeah.
I'll say this to what you're saying, Brittany, because I didn't know the exact name of what you were talking about, but once you said it, I did hear about it. And if you're on any kind of social media more than 5 minutes, you're going to hear about things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't credibly say I know exactly what all went on, but what you're saying covered pretty much what everyone was saying
Yeah.
about this
Yeah.
thing. And so
Yeah.
the one thing that I will say is this, and I don't want to sound cliche. I'm not a person who really stands on any platitudes, but I know specifically from being in marketing and how the world works right now, that the ones who do the most controversial, most disgusting,
Get the
um,
most headlines.
most ridiculous things are the ones who have the microphones, who get the
Yeah.
headlines. And so I know just from the clients that I've worked with, I know from the organizations that I've worked with, that there are a lot of good men. They're just not in front
Yes.
of a microphone. They're not,
Get in front of one, men.
you
We
know,
need you. We need you.
exactly.
We need
I was
you.
encouraged
Yeah.
by the women in my life to do
Yes.
this,
Yes.
to speak up and platform people and talk about the uncomfortable
Yes.
things on the Unbroken
Yes.
Place. And so, what I would say to this is, um, that there are a lot of men who are struggling. And again, this is just conversational, talking with colleagues, talking about
Yes.
with other
Yes.
coaches, what we're hearing. A lot of men are struggling with what they've grown up with. Okay. And I'm not going to speak to the manosphere because I actually try to steer clear of it.
It's good.
But
Yeah.
a lot of men are struggling with what they've grown up with as, hey, you need to be the protector, you need to be the
Yes.
provider, you need to be all these things. But then when they get to their job and the job doesn't pay like dad's used to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they need their partner, if it is a woman, to step in and make, make as much or make enough so that they can survive, there's a power dynamic that they didn't grow up with. They didn't see mom and dad doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
saw dad as the breadwinner and mom took
Mm-hmm.
care of everybody.
Yes.
And now it's this shift
Yeah.
where mom is right there with dad, or mom is making a lot more than dad in some cases. And the
Yeah.
adjustment from what you've been told your entire life by society versus the reality is, it's just this mind bend for
Yes.
some men who don't have the ability to recognize that's what's causing it, b aren't seeking help
Yes.
to work through that. It's not as easy as just saying, hey, go do the work. Well, they don't even know what they're working on. It's
Right.
they feel this, wow, women don't need me. I was supposed to be the protector, I was supposed to be the provider.
Yeah.
um but the consequence is what women are seeing, is what
Yes.
children are seeing.
Yes.
These lash outs that have so very little to do with what women are succeeding at or doing, but more so internally with what they need to, as you said, work on, the things they
Yes.
need to step into therapy, coaching,
Yes.
any sort of mental health
Mhm.
support that would be helpful. And those of you who have the much bigger microphone than I do right here, please start pushing this.
Yes.
Please start pushing this.
Please.
This is something that you know won't end well if we don't face it. Is that Alfie?
Right. It is Alfie. I wasn't sure if you could hear him or not. He doesn't have a big bark, but he is like just sitting right there. So
That's
that is
awesome.
Alfie. He agrees with you.
All
My
right,
little
Alfie,
man.
you made the cut. You're on the
That's
show now.
right. My little man, he agrees. He's a good one.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I think that it's just, and women, we want good men. We're looking for good men, but women have been tired. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, we just need the men to do the work. We need good role models. And I think, also think about this huge push that we've had for the whole girl boss
Mm,
narrative that we had through the 2010s. I mean, millennials were wearing literally like suits to the clubs after work, the girl
hmm
boss era and hustle hard and all of that. And we really ingrained this, I think our mothers and grandmothers, because they did not have the rights, they did not have access and
Yeah,
resources. They really ingrained this into their millennial daughters and so on, girl bossing and taking control of your life and working hard. However, while that was happening, and we're seeing, an economic, the situation we've been in economically overall. So, what you were saying about men not making the money, not being in the way that they were, the way that we have, women have evolved with taking control of their finances
hmm
and girl bossing, we didn't teach the men to then take the initiative in the home with the children and stuff, the way that women were before.
hmm
So we didn't teach men the empowerment of that and the importance of that and how important that, their role is in that.
yeah.
And so I think that's why one of the reasons why it has been a struggle. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a man, so I can't speak, I can only speak on just what I am gathering and talking to other men and learning. And,
Yeah,
um, I think we need to teach more boys and men to take those roles on in the household and support. It's really supporting each other, in that
yeah.
sense.
Don't go anywhere. The Unbroken Place will be back in just a moment. What if the clarity you've been searching for isn't out there, but already within you? I'm Eddie Paul Thomas, life and leadership coach. I work with purpose-driven people who are ready to lead boldly, live intentionally, and grow from the inside out. Whether you're at a crossroads or leveling up, coaching can help you move with focus, confidence, and wisdom. This is your time. Visit onsecondthoughtstudio.com to get started. Imagine a place where the untold stories of Black missionaries are amplified, honored, and celebrated. A place that bridges the legacy of the people of the way with the powerful missions work of today's African diaspora. Welcome to the Black Missions Museum, a digital project dedicated to preserving the voices, culture, and legacy of Black missionaries across the globe. But we need your help to bring this vision to life. Your support makes a difference. Join us in this mission by donating today. Just click the link in the show notes to give and be a part of history. Together, we can inspire future generations and keep the legacy alive. At the Say Something Studios division of Elevate One Consulting, we don't just build websites, we craft unforgettable digital experiences. Imagine a place where design, development, UX, SEO, and management harmonize to elevate your brand to unprecedented exposure. A place where your website is not just seen, but felt, experienced, and remembered. Our expert team, equipped with unparalleled marketing insight, turns the everyday task of website design and management into a seamless, empowering journey. With Elevate One, you're not just launching a website. You're embarking on a transformative business adventure. We meticulously design every aspect, from intuitive navigation to stunning graphics, ensuring your digital space authentically represents your business ethos. Ready to transform your online presence into a thriving digital masterpiece? Visit us now at www.elevateoneconsulting.com and start your journey to digital excellence. Elevate One Consulting. Innovate, grow, elevate.
Looking for a way to reconnect and reset? Awaken Pittsburgh offers free guided meditations open to everyone, online and in person, on the first and third Wednesday, second Saturday, and third Monday of each month. Each session includes guided practice, reflection, and space for questions and support. No experience needed. Sign up on Eventbrite and join the community.
And we're back. I think a lot of what you're saying is absolutely true. I think that a lot of it has to do with the way we talk about it. Growing up, a lot of the friends that I grew up around, doing that kind of stuff was beneath them because the men did X.
That's what we've been taught. But that's what,
that's what so many people in society were taught. But I think that it's different depending on the type of community you were raised in. My people, my family were very communal. So it wasn't, that Eddie didn't babysit. I did. I was a babysitter, but I also cut grass. I had a very different upbringing, and I'm learning this. I don't think I'm an alien, but I think that I had a very different upbringing where a lot of women fed into me.
That is huge. That's huge. So
yeah. And it's I learned to actually listen, not just, set up my next argument or, get ready to say what I wanted to say, but I learned to actually listen to what's being said. And in doing that, it kind of disarmed a lot of these things. I would see these things on TV and like, is that really what a man's supposed to be? It allowed me to kind of look at those things and say, I'm going to go a different route.
I love that.
And I'm grateful to a lot. I'm actually working on a book right now where one of the chapters is specifically talking to the way in which I've learned so much from specific women in my life. The value of the different types of work that was, quote, traditional to women versus me getting in there and understanding, I'm contributing a lot. And then even, I call it a blessing, but some people would be like, whoa, what do you mean? There are times in my marriage with Erica where my income was the only income because, an organization let her go. But then I would lose my job and she's making tons of money. So it fluctuated back and forth, and it just, without that exposure, to something where you're in it with someone, where you're like, hey, we're going to make this work regardless of the situation. I call it,
got each other's back.
It's also learning, in the book, I call it learning to expand and contract. You don't have to take up all the air in the room. Depending on the moment, you start to learn that rhythm.
It's a great way to look at it.
And respect the human across from you in a different way. Gosh, we could probably talk about that for hours, Brittany. But I'm really I'm drawing us back into an area that I don't know a lot about. Like for me, my goal when I was a kid was to play on a college basketball team, then go straight to the NBA and impact the world after I make all my millions. And I learned very early through knee injuries that was a very short-lived dream. And I didn't get to hang out with celebrities and thespians and models, and that was not going to be a thing for me. But you've seen firsthand how kind of quickly money can come and go in industries like, entertainment and sports. What are some of the most common mistakes you've seen people make when they suddenly come into well?
Yeah, I mean, so oftentimes it's like the same story. They usually want to go out and buy a really fancy car, which is such a massive depreciating asset the moment you drive it off the lot.
Yeah.
They want to go buy, a lot of girls go buy the designer bags and, like all of those things, the drip, get the fit on, but that's the thing is trends and stuff, they come and go. And also body trends, cosmetic surgeries and stuff. I tell women to be very careful with that because, and I actually do talk about this on the HBO documentary that I did that will be coming out in the next few months. Back when I started modeling, heroin chic is what was the style, and they just wanted like a skeleton. They just wanted the thinnest bodies possible, and you were meant to be a hanger for the clothes on the runway. That was the style, and you can look at the way the media talked about bodies back then. And all the tabloids and everything, pick up a magazine from 2001, 2003. That is, I mean, we were terrible. We were horrible. And now, you get into the 2010s, and then you've got all of the lips and the big, the BBLs and all of this. So now then that's trending, and all of these are unrealistic body types and trends. And that's what is dangerous. These are body trends. So, are you just going to keep changing your body with surgery every time a trend happens? And so I feel like I personally do know, I know of several girls that have gotten into this trap of trying to keep up with cosmetic trends, and a fraction of that money going into investments or going into your retirement, oh my gosh, what a difference in your life that will make. And listen, I'm not saying don't do any cosmetic surgeries. Do what makes you happy. Do what gives you confidence. Do what's best for you. But I'm saying your question was, what do I see a lot of? And that is, unfortunately, I see a lot of. I know a girl that spent over $100,000 on a full, and she was so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, what you could do with that $100,000. She didn't need, but again, do what makes you happy. But oh my gosh, with $100,000, and she's 23.
God. Oh my, that just hurt. That hurts my heart. I see
Eddie,
it.
Yeah.
Brittany, I'll tell you this. I'm a father of two girls. And I am constantly trying to pour into those girls about self-worth, and makeup and things. I don't, I obviously don't do this without talking to my wife to make sure, am I on track with, these things, but just the number of images. There was a study that I talked about with a coworker not too long ago about, the number of brands that we see every single day. It's well over 7,000 brands per day. I mean, we're
constantly inundated with.
Yeah. And so when take brands and shift it into images, how often are women being told they aren't good enough?
Not enough.
Every commercial.
Every single one. Commercial. That is what the beauty industry is. And I lived it. I was in it. I am part of it. I have been part of it. But that is also why I am so outspoken to my followers, to the people who, to women and girls that want to get into the industry. Really loving yourself first, not trying to keep up with major body trends, and being who you are, the best version of yourself. And when you flip through these magazines, now we have AI and stuff too, which is very hard to tell at times. Yeah. It's gotten so good and it's just evolving. But you flip through the magazines and everything, and those models don't even look like the models, because the amount of, I mean, Victoria's Secret, I remember I had a friend that was actually an editor for Victoria's Secret. And I remember her telling me the process of what they go through when they edit one image, for a campaign. I mean, there's 12 people that one image goes through. Like 12 people edit that image before it is published. And so I've always been very vocal with my followers and any opportunity I have to, yes, it's all about staying centered in yourself and being the best version of you, because trends will come and go.
Yeah. It's so part of what I do, just kind of thinking about what we're talking about here at its foundational level is mental health.
Mm-hmm.
The story that we tell ourselves about ourselves, the image that we see. Like, we could be looking, you and I, in the same mirror and seeing completely different
Absolutely.
things than everyone else. And so
that dress, you remember the gold and black, or the black and blue
Yeah.
dress, or the sneakers, the pink and the mint? Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's so interesting how those stories we tell ourselves
yes.
impact us on so many different levels. I'm curious, other than the kind of keeping up with the Joneses kind of mentality, what do you think is causing this pattern that you're seeing? Is it education, trust systems? Is it something much deeper? Like, what is actually causing this?
Clarify your question just a little more. The pattern of trying, like,
Sorry.
spend, like, yeah.
So the pattern we've seen historically from athletes, artists,
Yes.
who are generating this massive amount of income,
Mhm.
and they still end up unstable
Yes.
financially. Financially speaking,
Mhm.
what do you think is at the root of that?
The root of it is their relationship to money and the lack of financial literacy, for sure. The relationship to money and the lack of education on what to do with it when you have it. So we're seeing more organizations like the NFL and the NBA starting to roll out programs for the players to be able to learn and access, better financial advice with the money that they're making, because this has been such an issue for so long. And that is what my goal now is for models and actors and pageant queens and other people in entertainment. I am very focused on helping them learn how to manage their money and what to do with it. So I used to own Miss Universe Ireland. I built the brand from the ground up in Ireland, and also owned the franchise to Miss Indiana USA. I'm a former Miss Indiana USA as well. And my entire goal is to teach those people how to take control of their finances and protect their finances. I can teach you how to I can coach you and teach you how to launch your career, walk like a supermodel. I will give you Miss Universe level coaching. I have created Miss Universes. I've made stars. One of my girls almost won Dancing with the Stars. I got another one on CBS with Miranda Cosgrove every Saturday morning. Like, I will make you into a star. Not only am I going to teach you how to get the bag, I'm going to teach you how to keep it and what to do with it. That is what's most important. And so no other coach that I know in my sphere does that. So I am currently earning my Series 65 license, which will allow me to legally give investment advice. And so that is my focus now, is coaching others to get the bag and how to keep it.
Yeah, Brittany, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say this, because we've known each other forever, but part of the reason why we're talking today is because I've seen some of your posts specifically about empowering people and talking specifically about things that are, the average person can listen to and go, oh, I really need to rethink the way I'm doing this or that. I mean, Your podcast is amazing. Some of it
Thank
goes
you.
right over my head, which, that I'm not a finance guy at all, but you bring it down to earth on your social media posts. And I think
Thank you.
um, I would love to encourage people to follow.
Thank
It's going to be
you.
hilarious in some instances, but you always throw in something educational for people to
Thank you.
kind of think through financially. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Um, for the listeners who may not be in high earning industries,
Mm-hmm.
but still like they want to have some sort of control over their finances,
Mm-hmm.
where does true financial empowerment actually begin?
Again, I always say, I mean, it comes to your relationship with money. So once you figure that out and you can figure out how that has evolved and manifested into your current waking life, then you can start to address that inner wound, that childhood wound, and heal that. It all starts with yourself. And you said, this podcast is all about mental health, and I am very much about self work, inner healing, child work, chakras specifically. I do a lot of breath work, a lot of
Mm,
yoga. I do a
yeah,
lot of chakra energy work, and working on that mindfulness is life changing. Also, check your vitamins. Make sure you're taking enough like magnesium and vitamin D and getting a lot of hydration. Just feeling in the right mind, and connected to yourself. Self awareness is everything, being present. And so, yeah, I think that it really starts with yourself, and then constantly being curious, asking
mm,
questions. Being curious will get you far in life, asking questions. Um, for me personally, it really was a fear based relationship with money. And I had to face that fear head on. When I was earning my license, when I was getting taking my federal law test as a loan officer for Rocket Mortgage, that was the first job I had outside of entertainment, like truly outside of entertainment. And I didn't want anyone to know about my past because I had just lost everything. I did not want anyone to know about my past. I wanted to be taken seriously just for my work alone. I'd show up very plain, glasses, very plain. And I just felt like I had a lot to prove. And I cried every single day as I was studying for my federal law test. But I passed on the first try.
good,
65% of
good.
people fail on their first try. So I passed, but like that, and once you overcome that fear, on the other side of fear is freedom. And so I actually strongly feel that fear and your triggers, things that trigger you, those are actually signals in your body telling you where to pay attention, what you need to pay attention to. So don't be afraid of it. Those fears you need to run towards. And actually, that's something that, it was a lesson that I learned very young, but it was a lesson I learned very young. But sometimes, life comes back around and reminds you of those lessons,
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
because when I was very young and when I started pageants and stuff, the very first one I did, I think I was 14 or 15. And people don't believe this. I was very shy. I was very insecure, and I couldn't even like deliver a science project in front of the class. That's how shy I was. But at 14, 15, I knew I wanted a different life, and I knew that I was going to have to be comfortable in front of people if I wanted
Yeah,
the life that I wanted. So I entered
yeah.
this pageant. And one of the things I had to do was I had to do a speech on September 11th
Ooh,
in front of 300 people. And I almost threw up. I was physically shaking. I was physically shaking so much that one of the chaperones came over and grabbed me, and she was like, "Oh, sweetheart, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "You're going to be fine. You're going to do great." And I got up there, I did the speech, and then, I got the little VHS back and watched it after the pageant and stuff. And I was like, okay, actually, I actually did pretty good. I actually did good. And, that opened a whole different world for me. Oh my gosh. Then I got addicted to it. I'm like, okay, I love public speaking because you can have a good impact, positive impact on a lot of people. And so what are the causes and the things that I'm passionate about that I want to
Mm-hmm.
have a positive impact in? How can I get in front of more people and get this positive message out about the causes and the things that I'm passionate about? So in that moment at 15 years old, I faced a huge fear of mine. And look, it completely changed the course of my entire life in such an amazing way. I would not be who I am. I would not be where I am had I not faced that fear at 14 years old. And so one of my biggest pieces of advice for everyone listening is reframe your mind about your fears and your triggers. That is where your body is signaling for you to pay attention to. Conquering those fears on the other side of fear is freedom. So go for it.
Outstanding. Outstanding advice. I think I'd love to circle back on one thing here, and it's probably one of the more important things that I want people to take away from this. It's that you have this upcoming documentary, and it tells your story in a very raw way. What do you hope people feel, or without giving too much away, feel or rethink about themselves and their relationship with money after watching it?
Money is energy. It really does start with yourself and the stories we're telling ourselves, our own internal beliefs. And what happened to me it's not okay in any capacity. Financial abuse, psychological manipulation and abuse, emotional abuse. What happened to me was basically a conspiracy, and the definition of conspiracy here, I'll actually look it up. A conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful to another person or a group. So, and that is exactly what happened to me. It was multiple people conspiring together to completely destroy and dismantle every area of my life, personally and professionally. They were profiting off of me. I was used as a puppet for tax, like a tax write-off. I was used for profit. That's what I was used for. And I discovered that everything that I knew to be true in my life, personally and professionally, was all a lie. It was all a ruse. And once I made these discoveries and I tried to advocate for myself, or I tried to advocate for my girls, that is when all hell broke loose. And they tried to make me disappear, to put it in the lightest way. But it was the most terrifying time of my life. The power imbalance was very real. Because, for example, we talked about how women didn't even have power over their own finances and things like that until like the 70s. Couldn't even open a bank account or get a loan. When I was in Ireland, I could not open my own bank account without my partner. And it was because of the status of my visa. So I was basically sent back to the 1950s when I lived in Ireland, and I had absolutely no control over my finances or my life. And I had to blindly trust and have faith in the person that I loved and my partner, and the verbal agreement that we made for me to make those sacrifices and go over there. So I would never recommend a woman or a girl, or anyone really for that matter, to give up their ability to generate their own income and financial autonomy and to have control over their own finances, no matter what the circumstance is. I do not care what that man promises you. I do not care if he buys you all the Cartier in the world. I don't care if he invests in your business. I do not care. Don't ever do it unless you have a legal written agreement that clearly outlines
Right.
your protections in every capacity.
Yeah.
So moving to a foreign country with a man, yeah, I do everything you can to protect yourself. So
Yeah. I can't wait to
I'm not
watch
saying don't do it.
it.
I'm saying have certain things in place to protect yourself. Because I'm so grateful I had the experience of living in Ireland. I love Ireland. I miss Ireland. I've actually considered moving back to Ireland. I should have had my citizenship in 2020. But yeah, I just think that women and girls, our energy, what we bring, our value to this world has been taken for granted and siphoned for so long. What happened to me was not okay, but I had to look at myself and what my role in my life, and I'm the leading lady in my life. So what do I have to do differently to make sure this never happens again? Was it okay? No. But what can I do to make sure this never happens again? And I want to teach other women and girls to protect themselves too, because I don't want to see this happen to anybody. And I know far too many that have, gone through something like this. So that's my why. That's my why. My why has never changed. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful that you found the courage to do this documentary. I know there was so much that
I almost didn't. I almost did not.
There was so much that you couldn't say early on, and people who cared about you were kind of like, what is going on?
What is happening?
And so,
why are her posts so erratic? And
it's just so I'm grateful for this thing that's coming out that will hopefully help a lot of women protect themselves and learn from this. A lot of men learn, and I want to include this part too. It's also to help other men learn to look, what to look out for. If you see it in another guy, and to be able to check
because we need men to step up. We need good role models. We need men to hold each other accountable, because men look at other men and they value, and it's just how it is. Like this whole conversation, men look towards other men on how to behave, how to treat women, what they seem about, how they are valued, how they value themselves. So men, good men that are listening, please, we need you. We want you. We want more of you. So please be more vocal and set the standard for these men. Get them out of that manosphere and get them being real loving, empathetic protectors. And how does a man protect? It's not always through aggression, and it's not. Yes, there's a time and a place for that when that's necessary. When it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
However, creating a safe place for your woman, for your children, that's creating a safe emotional environment. That's creating that, and that comes from within. That's creating a safe emotional environment for your partner to feel free to be themselves and authentic and vulnerable, and that's how love grows.
Yeah, it is a form of protection to create that environment. So I'm grateful for your story, Brittany. I'm grateful for the services you're providing for women like my girls who will eventually need it, and just for you. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, sharing your wisdom with finances. Folks, we'll have all of Brittany's contact information in the show notes, and certainly on the website. If you want to check her out, she's on social media. What's the handle again, Brittany? I forget.
All my social media is Brittany Mason Official. Brittany Mason Official. I also, my website's being updated right now, but it's brittanymason.com. You can find me on there. Also, my podcast is The Alternative Mason. But yeah, give me a follow and yeah, say hello. I'm excited to learn and grow with everyone.
Outstanding. All right. Thank you so much, Britt.
Thank you so much, Eddie. Thank you so much for having me on and this wonderful platform and being such a great role model for all of us out there.
The Unbroken Place podcast is presented by Eddie Paul Thomas, LLC, and sponsored by Elevate One Consulting and OK on Second Thought Coaching. The show is produced by Say Something Studios. Learn more about our sponsors and producer in the show notes. The show's music is performed by Kesta. Thank you for being a part of the Unbroken Place podcast community. Look for an ongoing conversation on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to sign up for our newsletter called Things I'm Rethinking at eddiepaulthomas.com. Until next time, one love.